Ever wished your trains could think for themselves? Skip a station if they're full, or head to a faraway depot when they need it? With conditional orders in OpenTTD, they can. And in this video, I'll show you how to use them to make your network smarter, faster, and more efficient with real examples so you can start using them right away. Hello there, Master Hellish here, and welcome to my conditional orders tutorial. Now, you might be saying, what are conditional orders? Well, let's sort that out, we'll get the basics recapped, and then we'll move on. So first of all, orders. Well, that's what you tell your vehicles to do in OpenTTD. You usually tell them to go between this station and that station, or that airport and this airport. Sometimes you might use waypoints, and sometimes you might tell them to go to the depot. Now, these orders, as a general rule, work fine, and as a beginner, you don't need conditional orders. You can do the game perfectly okay without them, but doing conditional orders does raise your game up another notch, and that's what we're going to look at now. Orders in OpenTTD start at the top and then are executed line by line, working their way down to the bottom, and once they reach the bottom and that's finished, it goes back to the top again in a big loop. Now, this is relatively obvious for most people, but it's important when it comes to conditional orders. To access conditional orders, click the drop-down arrow on the Go To button within the train order window. Here you will see conditional order jump. Each jump order will only jump if the condition is met. If the condition is not met, then it will just continue on and process the next order in the list. Once you've created your jump order, you need to configure it. You can configure your jump order with a number of different options. You can have the load percentage, the reliability, maximum reliability, speed, the age of the vehicle, the remaining lifetime, whether it requires a service, or you can set it to always happen. And then these you can then set to be different things. You can set it to be equal to a value, whether it's not equal to a value, less than or equal, more than, and more than and equal as well, and then specify your particular value to compare. Once you've added your order and you've configured it, that's it. You've done a conditional order. Although it may take some practice to work out exactly how and why you might use these and get them working exactly how you want to. And that's it. Actually, the basic concept of conditional orders is very straightforward, but it's actually applying it is where it can get quite complex. So I'm going to go through a number of examples, and hopefully those examples will not only show you certain ways in which you can use shared orders, but will help you understand how you can build your own. Here is our first example. Now, a note on the examples. A lot of these have been stripped down to their basic fundamentals, just to make it easier to show. They're not necessarily the most perfect way to make profit and stuff. Now, this one is about cargo-based routing. We have our train, and we have a number of stations. Our first station, second station, and a destination station. What I want to do is decide whether we're going to go to the second station or not, based on the amount of cargo we're carrying. So, to do that, I am going to first add all of my stations to my list of orders. Now, you don't have to do this. You can try and do conditional orders as you go, but I rather personally like to put all my stations in first. Now, to insert an order, you need to highlight an order. Now, when you highlight an order, the order that you insert will appear above the order you highlighted. Here I have the second station highlighted. If I do a go to order and click the first station, you can see we get another first station order appearing above the second station. Now, we don't actually want this, so I'm just going to quickly remove that one. What we do want to do is add a conditional jump order. So I'm going to hit the drop down and click conditional jump. Then I need to click on where the condition wants to jump to. I want to jump to order number 3, so that's what I'm going to click now. Right, at the moment it says we're going to go to the first station. Then it says jump to order number 4 when load percentage is equal to 0. Then it says go non-stop to the second station, and go non-stop to the destination. Now, this is correct, except the actual conditions here are not quite right for my particular situation. We're going to load at that first station, and I'm going to say if the load percentage is more than 50%, then I don't want to go to the second station. We're going to jump to number 4, which is our destination. That will skip the second station if we have more than 50% of our passengers on board. let's unstop the train and let it go out the station. Now, there are not going to be a load of people at this station to begin with to fill up our train. So our jump order doesn't actually succeed, and then we go to order number 3 and then down to order number 4. So on this occasion, our train didn't skip the second station. Let's change the order a little bit to try and make it skip it. So at the first station, we're not going to have a lot of stuff waiting for this station. The catchment's terrible and the town's not that big. I'm going to say that if the load percentage is more than 1%. Now on this occasion, I'm expecting it to be true, because there are 15 passengers waiting, and I'm sure that's more than 1% of our total capacity. So on this occasion, what will happen is the condition will be true, and it will jump to order number 4, straight to the destination and skip the second station. So there we have it, a little example about how you can skip stations, waypoints and depots if you want to, depending on the cargo in your vehicle. For our next example, we're going to route trains to a depot depending on their reliability. Now, often most people just use the service interval to decide whether a train goes to a depot. There might be reasons why you want to override this. One of the reasons might be that your depot is more than 16 pieces of track away from the main line. When trains are going down the main line and they're trying to service, they can only see around 16 blocks in front of them to work out if there's a nearby depot. If your depot is miles off the line, like this one here, then you're going to need conditional orders to get it off and use the waypoints to then service. Let me show you. We have 2 trains here. They're identical. They've got the same shared orders. Well, they will have in a minute when we give them orders. And also, we can see in the details, this one's got a reliability of 37%, and this one's got a reliability of 96%. What we want to do is have our first one go down and service, and our second one not. So, let's get some orders in. First off, I'm going to say, go to this waypoint. Then I'm going to tell it to go to this waypoint and service at the depot, and then come down and go to station 1, then station 2. Now, let's just make sure we put that service order in at the depot. Let's see, waypoint, and then here we go. Go to the depot and service. Now what we want to do is, after we've gone through the first waypoint, we want to immediately decide whether we want to go to the second waypoint and then service, or go down to the stations. So let's add our conditional order straight after that first waypoint. We're just going to go to conditional order jump, and we say we want to jump down to station 1. Now there's 2 ways we could configure this. We could say if the current reliability, so we can say reliability is, well, less than a certain amount, let's say 50%, then it will do the jump order. Now, that's actually the wrong way round. Because we are doing a jump if the condition is true, we want to skip the depot if the definition is true. So we want it to be more than 50. Let's modify that. There we go. More than 50. So, we're going to go through the first waypoint. If our reliability is more than 50%, we're going to skip 2 orders and go straight to order number 5, which is the first station. There is another way of doing this, and that's instead of doing amounts on the reliability, we can say requires service. If requires service is true, then it will also jump. Now in this case, we would have to have requires service to be set to false. We want to jump past the depot if it's false. Let's make sure that train 3 has the same orders. Yep, it does. I did shared orders. Always use shared orders if you can. And let's set these 2 going. Now the first one's going to need to service, and the second one should not. So train 2's on its way. It's going to need to service. Its service interval is just absolutely terrible. And you can see now that it's actually gone past the waypoint, and the conditional order has not been activated because the service is true, not false, and it's got to the waypoint and is now going to the depot to service. In fact, it even breaks down on the way. Once it's been to the depot, it'll come back out and head out to the station. There we go. So the jump order was not activated, and we went through to the waypoint, to the depot, and now we're off to the station. Let's see what happens with train 3. Train 3 shouldn't need a service. Its maximum reliability is very high, and its reliability is also very high too. Let's send it on its way, and we'll check the orders as it goes. In this case, we're expecting the jump order to come back true. We do not require a service, and then we'll jump to order number 5. There we go. You can see that we've gone straight from that order down to number 5. So the train's going to just continue down to station 1. So there you have that example. You can decide whether to go down routes depending on if you need a service or what the current reliability of the vehicle is. Here is our next example, and again this is a condensed version of what you might find in real life, but we have 2 tracks going in one direction and 2 tracks going in the other direction. What we want to do is, when our trains are approaching this junction, we want to use the waypoints to decide which track they're going to go on. Whether they're going to go on the first track, where they have the option to go and service at the depots if they like, or whether they're going to go on the second track, where they don't even get the option to go to the depot. Now, these 2 waypoints down here, these 2 are actually one waypoint. You place them by holding control when you're putting the second waypoint in. Let's get our train and do those orders. First up, I'm going to put all the orders in. We're going to go to the first waypoint. It doesn't matter which one, it treats it as one waypoint, we're coming to the waypoint. Then at some point we'll have a condition, and we'll either go to the first waypoint on the first line, or waypoint number 2 on the second line. And then no matter which one we've gone past, eventually we'll go on to our stations. Now, let's add our conditional orders. Well, our first conditional order we're going to put before this waypoint. We're going to go through the first waypoint and make our decision. So, conditional order jump, and we're going to say, if this one is true, we're going to skip past and go to the waypoint number 2. So we're going to skip this first waypoint and go to waypoint number 2. So we're going to jump to order number 4. Now, this one, we want to set it so if the reliability is, let's say, more than 50%. So if our reliability is more than 50%, we're going to skip this waypoint, go straight to the second waypoint, and off down to the stations. We now need another conditional order. If this condition is not met, we're going to go to the first waypoint, which is fine. That's what we want. Our reliability is less than 50%. We're going to go on the first line and maybe service. But after that, we don't want to go to the second waypoint. So let's put another one in. Before the second waypoint, we're going to put a conditional order in, and we're going to tell it to jump to the station. And in this case, we always want it to happen. This allows us to bypass that second waypoint on the second line that we don't need to go to. And there's our orders. Now on this occasion, our train is brand new. Its reliability is 67%, so in theory it's going to be greater than the 50% we've set in the orders. So let's see the orders. The train comes in and it goes to the first waypoint. Its reliability is more than 50%, so its orders jumps to the second waypoint. It uses the outside line to go down the line and off down to the stations. Now we have a new train, and just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to change this to say if the reliability is more than 100%. That's right, only trains with 100% can use the inside line now. Now on this occasion, it's going to go through and look at the orders in a slightly different way. We're going to go to the first waypoint. We're going to say, well, our reliability is at more than 100, and we're going to go to this first waypoint here. After that, we skip the second waypoint because we don't need to go there, and we head on to the stations ahead. So here you can see by using 2 different conditional orders, we can choose which track we go down depending on our current reliability. In this final example, we've got a train that goes between 2 different stations, and what we're going to tell it to do is go to the depot and stop once it reaches a certain age. So let's add that order in. We're going to say you go between the stations, which we've already got, and then go to the depot, and for this depot order we're going to tell it to stop. But we want to skip that order if we haven't reached that age, so let's do that. We're going to go to conditional order. We're going to go to order number 1, so where we're actually jumping up the list. And we're going to change the configuration to say, if the age in years is less than 1, so i.e. 0, then it's just going to jump back round and keep doing those 2 stations. Okay, when this jump order fails and the age is greater than 1, it will go down to the 4th order and tell it to go to the depot and stop. So at the moment, the age of the vehicle is 0, it's brand new. We're going to get it going. There we are. Now it hasn't got any carriages, doesn't matter because there are no passengers. And then we'll just fast forward. And eventually this train will decide to go to that depot and stop. And there we go. You can see it just did it. It's now December and it's gone to the depot and it stopped there. It looped round and round and round, and as soon as it was 1, which it is now, age equals 1 at the top there, then it finally went down to that last order and went to the depot and stopped, decommissioning the vehicle. So there we go. I've explained it for you and given you some examples. Hopefully now you should be tooled up to give it a go yourself and raise your OpenTTD game. Now, if you do get stuck, there's plenty of different places you can go to, including my Discord, where we'd be happy to help out anybody who's got any questions. If this video has been helpful or useful, please do give it a like, and I will see you soon. Leave all your thoughts, ideas and questions down in the comment section, but for now, goodbye.